Hi guys, I am going to be showing you guys how I marinate for my butter chicken. The butter chicken is for tomorrow. So I've got my chicken that is ready and brined here, and I'm going to show you guys, this is a foolproof recipe. It comes out really tasty, and I really want you guys to try it this way. Mustard oil really adds another kind of depth and flavor to this dish, especially when you're doing Indo-Pak traditional food dishes, when it comes to your tandoori chicken, when it comes to your malai boti, when it comes to your butter chicken, all of those traditional dishes, you want to really use mustard oil. A lot of people find it really strong, but once it's cooked out and once it's marinated, it does really just give a different kind of depth to your dish. So what I've got here is I've got mustard oil, I've got some red chili powder, I've got Kriya butter chicken spice, I've got salt, I've got ginger, and I've got garlic. And for now we are just going to marinate this, and we are going to prepare and marinate our chicken, keep it ready, and then the rest is going to get done in the morning. I have brined my chicken overnight, and if you want to know how to brine the chicken, then please go on to my Nando's Portuguese chicken recipe on my YouTube channel and click on the link, and you will find that there is, on my recipe keeper, you will find the instructions as to how I brine my chicken. Right, so let's get started. I've got 1 kilo of chicken pieces, 1 kilo of chicken fillet that I've cut into cubes. More than welcome to cut chicken thighs, that actually tastes quite nice. And I've got half of a cup of mustard oil, and I'm adding in about a tablespoon of Kashmiri red chili powder. So a tablespoon of Kashmiri red chili powder, and what we're going to do is we're going to whisk this really nicely till it's got beautiful depth and color and flavor. So you really want to just incorporate your chilies into your mustard oil and make sure it's really nicely whisked. So take your time with this. Take about 2 or 3 minutes with this and make sure that you've really mixed it quite nicely, whipped it quite nicely. And then we're going to add the remaining ingredients. I've got about 1.5 tablespoons of ginger, 1.5 tablespoons of garlic, and I've got about 2 tablespoons of the butter chicken spice that I've prepared here, and salt to taste. So once we've mixed this finish, we're going to add the rest. All right, so it's whisked through quite nicely, about a minute or so, like I said, and I'm going to take all of this and just throw it in here. Ginger, garlic, butter chicken, salt, everything goes in here, and we mix again. Okay, so that's mixed through quite nicely. I'm going to give it another whisk, and then I'm going to add in 1 kilo of chicken fillet. That's going to go into, so these measurements are for 1 kilo of chicken. We're going to do the base and the sauce and whatnot tomorrow, but I'm just preparing my chicken for now and marinating it and keeping it away. So I'm going to mix this really nicely and thoroughly. Take my time with it, just about 2 to 3 minutes, and these things all just make a huge difference ultimately when it comes to your dish, your overall dish. We're going to mix this quite nicely, and I'm using these bowls of mine are from once again from Taste Cookware, and they're really nice because they have these rubber lids that you can pop them on, and they can stay in the fridge overnight. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to leave in the fridge overnight. Hi guys, so I'm back. This chicken has been marinating for a good few hours overnight. And before we get started with this chicken, I'm going to show you guys what we're going to do in terms of preparing the base for the butter chicken sauce. So what you need to do is you need to take in 1 kilo of tomatoes. That's 1 kilo of tomatoes and 1 onion. The ratio is 1 kilo of tomatoes and 1 onion. Chop it into big chunks like this. You don't need to peel it. And you need to cook that for about 10 to 15 minutes in a little bit of water till the onions and the tomatoes are nice and soft. Once that is done, you've got to strain it and then add in 2 tablespoons of roasted cashews and 1 teaspoon of 10 to 15 minutes. You then strain it through a sieve so that all the skin and everything else is out, the seeds are out, and you then take 2 tablespoons of roasted cashews, 1 teaspoon of butter chicken spice. Cook it for another 5 to 10 minutes, and then you got to run it through the machine. And what I then do with it is I put it into my ice cubes and prepare it and keep it ready here, right? So you've got to do that and keep it ready. Mine is prepped and ready already. I keep this in my freezer if possible so that I have it available, or else alternatively you can just do it fresh at that time. What else I've got is I've got in my ghee. I've got some butter that's ready here, and I've got some whipping cream that's ready here as well. So I'm going to get started with sorting my chicken out first. And then from there it's fairly quick and easy, and it goes pretty fast. Okay guys, so I've put my cast iron pan on and I'm going to let it heat up. And so basically I'm going to move this away because my sauce is ready here. Once again, 1 kilo of tomatoes, 1 onion, 2 goes through into a pot. Let it cook for about 10 to 15 minutes with a little bit of water. Sift it through a sieve, adding 2 tablespoons of roasted cashews, 1 teaspoon of butter chicken spice. Let it cook for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then you run it through a machine and make it into a puree paste. You can put it into ice cubes, freeze it, or you can do it on the same day that you're making your butter chicken and use it fresh, right? So mine is ready here. My pan is on, and once again, like I said, this pan, it's a cast iron pan. I'm not gonna add any butter or ghee at this stage because I do have quite a bit of mustard oil that's here from yesterday's marinade, so we're gonna just use this. Okay, so I'm gonna add my chicken, and we're gonna cook this on high heat because we want the chicken to sear quite nicely and not to lose any moisture, because once the chicken loses moisture, obviously that's when you've lost all the flavors. So you want to do this on a hot pan, and you want to do this, well, on quite high heat. Not extremely high that you actually burn it and char it, but do it so that it can get cooked quite nicely. So I've just taken a little bit of the mustard oil from the bowl of the marinade, and I am cooking my chicken in exactly the same marinade. Okay guys, so we're doing this on quite high heat once again, and what you want to do is you want to make sure that your pan is not overcrowded, because if you overcrowd your pan, the heat that's retained in the pan ends up coming down, which then ends up releasing a lot of moisture, and then you don't end up getting that lovely charcoal color that we are looking for. So I've done one batch, and I'm going to show you guys what my batch looks like. So if you have a look here, this is the color that you're looking at or looking for when you end up doing this stage, right? So I'm just going to turn these around and make sure that they've all got lovely, nice color. Yeah. Okay guys, so this is done. I'm going to take it off and keep it here with the rest of my chicken, and then we're going to get started with the second part of this dish. Okay guys, so just a small tip at this stage. What you want to do is you want to just take a little bit of liquid. If you've got stock on you, I like to use stock because I have stock handy all the time in my fridge because it gives an immense amount of flavor. So I'm going to just add a little bit of stock in here, heat up and take all this residual flavors that's at the bottom of this pan and add it to my chicken so that I don't lose all these beautiful, lovely caramelized flavors. So we're going to just do that and then move on to the next. Guys, so I've just added a little bit of stock and I'm just going to let it heat a little bit. The pan has got enough heat because we were cooking this on quite high heat. I'm going to just scrape through the bottom, make sure I get in all these flavors and let it heat up and thicken up a little bit, and then throw it into my chicken here and move on to the next step. Okay, so next up, I've put my charcoal up on a gas stove. This is just my ordinary gas stove. It's an ordinary charcoal, any charcoal that you use for your braai or anything. I buy these bags from Woolies, so that's the charcoal that's going into my pan. Goes in about a quart. I'm using a big spoon like this of ghee, and I'm going to add in some butter. And once this heats up, we're going to add the tomato and onion puree that we prepared earlier. So the ghee and the butter is getting melted and getting to heat. Apart from that, we've just got the tomato and onion mix I am also going to use in about a cup or so of the whipping cream or the normal cream, and I have got some butter chicken spice that I'm going to show you guys when I'm going to add. So the thing's heated now, and I'm going to add in my tomatoes and onion mix. So I'm going to add in the mixture that we prepared. Alright, so what I've done is I've added my tomatoes cubes into my pan, and I didn't want it all spluttering and everything all over, so I just put a lid on. We're going to let this melt down. So obviously if you're using fresh, then you're not going to need to do that. I did this yesterday and put it away. So once this is melted, this has come to a heating point and it's normal, then we're going to add a little bit of the butter chicken spice, and we're going to add the chicken, and then we'll go in the fresh cream. But obviously because this is cooked already, we don't really need to cook this down any further. We've already by steaming it earlier, the onions, tomatoes, preparing it ahead, we already taken the time out from this process, so we don't really need to cook this down much further. So have a look here, as it's like, you can see it's still frozen, but as it's heating up, already the thickness of the base and the sauce shows you that it's been cooked already. There isn't a lot of moisture, there isn't a lot of water, so we've already taken care of all of that prior to in the earlier steps and process. So this then step goes pretty quick and pretty fast, and saves you time. So what I would suggest, if you want to do this, if you're thinking of doing it, then this step can also be done when you're busy with something else in the kitchen. Just put that up so it gets done, it's prepared, prep ahead, keep it away. And have a look here, it's already got such a beautiful creamy texture to it already. So that's your cashews and your onions and your tomatoes. Okay, once this heats through, I'm going to add in another teaspoon or so of the butter chicken spice, and anyone who knows me will tell you I am the queen of layering. I firmly believe that you need to layer your flavors. You can't just throw in one step and then expect it to taste nice. I always kind of give an example of how, and when we cook biryani, how everything is done in layers and then the flavors that come through. So we're going to add in a teaspoon of spice, butter chicken spice, and come back in a bit. Alright guys, so this is now all heated through quite nicely, and what I'm going to do is I am going to add in about a tablespoon of the butter chicken spice, mix it through, and then we're going to add in our chicken that's been prepared, and we will then taste for seasoning. Okay guys, so I've added my chicken. Let's give it a bit of a stir, and once it kind of gets one or two boils, like small ones, we are going to add in our cream, and then we're going to smoke it with this charcoal. So you can already see the color is so beautiful and so rich, and it's creamy, it's got all the flavors. I kid you not, if you guys try this recipe and if it's a fail, you DM me and let me know, because I promise you, follow this step by step, it turns out amazing. I'm going to pop the lid on for another few minutes, and then I'm going to add in a cup of fresh cream. Okay, that's it. Little boils, that's what we're looking for. I don't want my chicken to get tough as well. Remember, it's chicken fillets. I cooked it for about, say, the chicken still had a bit of this thing to it. So when I did it on my pan, then it was cooked about 70 to 75%. We are now looking to, via the steaming process or low heating process, just cook it through completely. I'm going to add in a cup of fresh cream that goes in here. Give it a mix. Leave it for a little bit, and then as a last, we're going to give it some smoke with the charcoal. Alright, so let's give this a good mix. And I'm going to pop my lid on And when I find I'm happy with the consistency, then I'm going to charcoal it, smoke it. And the reason we charcoal smoke it is traditional butter chicken is never ever cooked in the restaurants, and that is never ever cooked just on the pan. When you go to restaurants, especially in India and Pakistan, this is actually tandoori chicken that they obviously barbecue or fry, and then it's now added into your butter chicken masala, and then it's cooked through, and that's how it's served. So it's always got that charcoal flavor, that smoke. If you go to any of the restaurants, you'll find that's how it's served. So to cheat the process, this is basically what we do. So if you are cooking it at home, this is the best way to do this. Right guys, so I've checked my seasoning, and to me it can do with another half of a teaspoon of the spice. Remember, everything sort of is, at the end of the day, you must still taste. I mean, one can give you a recipe, but you still need to taste as you go along. And why that would happen is my tomatoes might be more acidic or more sweeter, and that all depends basically on a lot of other factors as well. So just added a little bit more spice. I've tasted for salt, so the salt is perfect. I'm going to leave this for a few minutes and come back. And yeah, that's it. We're done. Right, so have a look here. Look at this rich color on this butter chicken. At this point, it's still not ready, because what we're looking for is we're looking for the ghee or the butter to appear on top, or at least on the sides. And if it hasn't, then obviously it shows us that it still needs to be cooked and it still needs to dry up a little bit. With the curry, it's a very, very important factor. You need to understand and realize that you need to get your ghee or oil to appear on top, which would then let you know that your curry is ready. So we need to give it another few minutes till it's ready. Okay guys, so this is nearly ready, and so if you can see, we've got now ghee that's appearing on the side, and if I switch this thing off now, it will basically just appear on top. So what I'm going to do now is we're ready at this stage. I've got my charcoal that's ready here, and I've got a little bowl that's ready here. You can use a piece of foil, and what we're going to do is we're going to take this charcoal. So you want to make sure that your charcoal is at least about 80 to 90% white. We're going to put this in here. Keep a spoon or so of ghee ready. We're going to put this bowl in here. You can just do a simple piece of foil. Keep your lid ready. And we are going to add in just a tiny amount of ghee. You see the smoke coming through. Pop your lid back on. Switch your stove off. So I've switched my stove. You can see the flavor, the smoke that's popping through out of the stove here, and that's got all your charcoal flavor. What I like to do at this stage is I just like to put on another pot or something heavy on top of my pot, so that we don't let any steam escape. The longer we leave this, the nicer the flavors are going to be. So I'm going to leave this for about 10 to 15 minutes, and yeah, then we are done with our butter chicken.